One. Okay, great. We're live with Steve Grimes. Great to have you. Great to speak with you, Steve.
Nice to be here. I'm not sure how many thousands of miles we are apart, but by the miracle of modern technology, we are like sitting in the same room together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're really well known, so I don't think I necessarily need to introduce you, but so maybe we'll just get straight into it about how, you know, how have things been for you over the past year and a bit?
Well, it's been a busy 14 months since the craziness started. 2020 was a very, very busy year. And my feeling is that if people are stuck at home and they can't go to Europe or go to Asia or go anywhere, Australia, they are going to try to amuse themselves with things like new ukuleles and new guitars. Lucky for me. So it's always been busy. I haven't been able to catch up since the late 80s. But that's the nature of the business, and it's also how I like it, because I do like to know that there's the demand for what I'm building rather than just build it and hope somebody buys it.
Great. And I guess now is the time, because you are based in Hawaii, on Hawaii. You must get a lot of ukulele and guitar orders.
There's a lot of business that comes from the state. There's more business that comes from the United States proper, what we call the United States. We call ourselves Hawaii, and actually we refer to the United States as America. And so there is quite a bit of business that comes from Canada and the US, and there's quite a bit of business that comes from overseas as well.
Right.
That's the least favorite part of this whole business, is after an instrument is done, I want to be done. But then I have to fill out commercial invoices and air bills and what's the paperwork that describes every piece of regulated material that could be on a musical instrument. Mother of pearl, ebony, Honduras mahogany, koa. And it's touch and go. It's kind of crazy these days with the regulations that have been put on luthiers by the US Fish and Wildlife people. So for instance, I'm finishing up a Brazilian rosewood, sides and back, quilted maple top, tenor ukulele for a customer in Japan, and I can't ship it to him. I told him that before I started on it. I said, it's going to be difficult. I said, you're going to have to come and get it. And he said that he would come and get it, but he doesn't want to travel right now. So yeah, the Brazilian rosewood thing, I have a lot of very, very old Brazilian rosewood, and to be able to only sell it within the US is an issue. But it's still my favorite wood to work with after all these years.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? All this regulation into...
Yeah, the regulation, yes.
Into woods. I mean, we understand why there is. It's just, I suppose it doesn't need to be so so bureaucratic. But then again, you know, but I was surprised to hear you say koa in that list.
This is one of my, I don't know if you can see this. It's one of my favorite badges.
Fantastic. But
it's become hard for the little guy. Now I can see them regulating Gibson.
Yeah.
And even those big companies, they try to get under those regulations and defeat the purpose of saving the wood or making it farmed. more ecologically. But somebody who makes a dozen or 2 dozen instruments a year, to make it impossible for them to use wood that's been in their possession since 1985.
Right.
See, when I got most of the Brazilian rosewood I have, there were no regulations. But after the fact, I came to the point where I'm holding illegal wood. So I've managed to get CITES paperwork on a lot of it, but some of it, who knows where it came from. I got it from Spain. It doesn't grow in Spain, so trying to track down paperwork on wood that was old when I bought it in 1985.
Yeah, I mean, like Brazilian rosewood, I can kind of understand, right? Like some of these rosewoods I can understand. I was quite surprised to see koa on that list because koa has been protected for some time. And I was just surprised to hear you say koa needs to be declared.
No, I have no problem shipping koa. I have not been advised as far as there being regulations put on koa. But all rosewoods, whether it's Indian rosewood, Brazilian rosewood, Madagascar rosewood, the word I got, the story that I heard was that they can't tell the difference. So to be safe, if it's a rosewood, they ban it. So it's made it pretty difficult. But anyway, we don't want to waste all our time talking about that.
Well, it's interesting, because people need to know about this. People need to know about these things. It's the same for. Okay, so it's the same for like mammoth ivory and ivory. So now they're saying, oh, it's really hard to tell the difference. So we should ban it outright. And yeah, I agree that harvesting ivory in this day and age is entirely unethical and unconscionable. But, the problem is that you have a resource from a part of an animal that is no longer alive. Why should you potentially curtail people's livelihoods just because you apparently can't tell the difference when actually most customs people can tell the difference because it's well documented. And even CITES have published documents about looking at grain orientation. And then sometimes I hear the argument that, oh, but it's inconvenient. And I'm like, well, convenience and inconvenience should not be your main driver. It's convenient for me to steal your car. Doesn't mean that it's right.
Correct. That's a very good analogy.
But
but they get into even the little details, like I have to list how many abalone dots or mother of pearl dots on the instruments. And so anyway, I started this by just saying that I love the building process. I love the rapport of talking to a customer and hearing what he or she wants in terms of sound and appearance and embellishments. And then comes the other part, which is the legal part of shipping out of the country. Right. Which is, it's not a huge part. I'd say 10% of my business is shipping to shipping overseas, but it's my least favorite.
Right. Okay. Well, let's put that to one side. Let's talk a little bit because I have to say, Steve, that you are one of the very few people I know that builds world-class archtops, world-class flat-top guitars, and ukuleles as well. Could you just maybe give us a flavor of, how different they are? Because, some people think, or some people may think at least, like a ukulele is like a small guitar, and an archtop is just like an archtop guitar, but it goes deeper than that, right?
It does. It's tonally, playability wise, they're all very, very different. If we just talk about guitars, so we can say flat top guitars versus arch top guitars, and we won't even get into electric guitars because that's a whole other field.
Oh yeah. No.
But just to touch on ukuleles, I started building ukuleles in, I think, 74 or 75 when I had my shop in a town in Washington State called Port Townsend. And I didn't build a lot, but I built about a dozen ukuleles. And then when I moved to Maui full-time in '82, I started getting requests from locals for ukuleles. And that's when I branched out. I think you might be able to see a shelf of instruments behind me.
Oh, yeah.
And that shelf, in the '80s, that shelf was 90% archtop guitars, a few flat top guitars, and 0 ukuleles, and 0 mandolins. I actually started building mandolins. My first 60 instruments were mandolins. But then I started getting more and more requests, especially toward the later part of the '90s and the early 2000s. I started getting requests for ukuleles, and I wanted to build them again. So I built a few tenors, and then I built one for myself, and I started playing it. And I can dabble on the ukulele. Before, I could dabble on the ukulele because I'm a guitar player and you can use some of the same shapes. And then when I built myself one in 2002, I absolutely fell in love with the ukulele. And I started playing it more. I started writing music for the ukulele, playing it in my band. And so that was kind of the opening of the floodgates of the ukulele for me back in the early 2000s. But all along, I graduated from making archtop mandolins into making archtop guitars. And I say graduation, not that one's a progression of the other or better than the other. They're just different. But I started making archtops in '74, and I was just dyed in the wool, as we say, archtop maker for many, many years. And it wasn't until I moved to Maui in '82 and met some slack key guitar players who asked me to make flat top guitars that I started into that realm, both nylon string and steel string. Let me turn off the central dehumidification. It kind of makes some noise. So
oh, sure.
Okay. Noise pollution. So the archtop guitar, how it differs from a flat top guitar, most strikingly and most obvious is appearance, but more importantly is how it sounds and how it projects sound. And an archtop guitar, you can see the dynamics of it, the physics of it. It's almost the opposite of the way a flat top guitar works. An archtop guitar is a lot of its construction is borrowed from violin family instruments, and I think that's what Orville Gibson had in mind when he, started playing with the design of a carved F-hole instrument for plucking rather than playing with a bow. So the pressure is down on the top, and there's only 2 braces. Most of the time, there's only 2 braces in an archtop instead of this myriad of braces in a flat top. And it has a tailpiece. So a lot of the tension of the strings is carried to the tailpiece. And the amount of pressure on the top can be regulated. On a flat top guitar, to tune to a certain pitch, that tension on the strings can't be regulated. It is what it is. So if they're attached to the bridge, they pull up and forward on the top. So the tension applied to the top is entirely different on a flat top than it is on an archtop. And so the sound that each guitar makes is entirely different. And I love both. And I think a lot of players love both. In that it's not one is not better than the other. It's like an apple and an orange. They both are what they are, and it may be what you like, but they are both incredible entities in themselves. So jazz people, like, they don't care about sustain. It's all about the attack. They just, they play rapid fire. They just want the attack, and they want power and projection. Flat top players want to hear the sustaining strings, and so flat tops have wonderful sustain that arch tops were never designed to have. So they're very, very different, and they both serve a great function in guitar music.
And how about the ukuleles?
Well, ukuleles, I have played a couple of archtop ukuleles. I've never tried one. I knew better. No, I've actually, my good friend, my rest in peace friend, Bill Collins, he and I were close pals, and he, if anybody could pull off an archtop ukulele, it would have been Bill Collins. And he did several of them, and he showed them to me, and we would just race them against a flat top ukulele. And I don't know how to say it. I don't think they went into production. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Collins makes great archtops guitars. My feeling is that there wasn't enough tension and driving power on a nylon string ukulele to make it work.
Okay.
The archtop ukuleles that I've heard have about half as much volume as a flat top ukulele, and the bass suffers the most. So it doesn't have any fullness or roundness to it. It has projection, but not, I don't know. That's just my opinion. That said, there's enough to talk about with just regular ukuleles. There's double hole ukuleles, round hole center ukuleles. There's a number of builders who do just side port ukulele.
Oh yeah,
the port is just in the side with no sound hole in the soundboard itself. So there's all kinds of experimentation. I could grab one of my asymmetrical ukuleles, and which I've been doing a lot of lately. Hang on one sec.
Sure.
Let me see. This is here's a couple of variations off the wall. This is pretty much a standard size. I don't know if you can see it. Double hole tenor ukulele with koa sides and back and a German spruce top.
Very nice.
That is, and it's got an arm bevel built in, and that is going to a customer in New York. And this one is one of a model I call the Free Rein, which uses an oval sound hole on the bass side pushed into the upper bout. It gives a larger area of the soundboard that's not interrupted by a sound hole. It has a nice warm bass to it, especially if you're using low G tuning. But that's the puppy right there.
Nice.
So this, you can see that the body is asymmetrical shape.
Yeah.
I do it in double hole. I do it with a center oval, and then this offset oval.
Great.
They all get their slightly different sounds. But what I like to achieve in an ukulele is a balance between the treble and the bass. I'm more a fan of the low G tuning, but I basically do whatever the customer is wanting.
Right.
But I love the bass. I love that full round sound that a low G can deliver. And I think I say probably 4 out of 5 ukuleles that I make, the customer wants a low G tuning rather than re-entrant tuning.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Steve. I think time is getting on, so that's just about 20 minutes. I think we'll We look forward to getting a shop tour from you, which will be happening real soon.
Okay,
So we'll just say bye for now, but
okay.
we'll get that shop tour sorted out and then and upload it.
Thank you very much, Terrence. It's been nice to actually meet you visually because we've never done that.
Yeah.
And to chat with you. So give me a call anytime.
Sure. Thanks a lot. You take care now.
Okay.
Okay.
Aloha.
Yeah.